A small group of ibex were grazing peacefully in a mountainous region when a lone male decided to initiate mating. The female rejected his advances, and while she was trying to get away from him, she jumped off a cliff. Fortunately, she survived the fall, and both she and the male rejoined the herd. Moments later, another male from the group attempted to mate with her, and she again escaped, this time running across a narrow ledge high up on a cliff face. Once more, she was successful in evading the persistent suitor. Finally, the female jumped into a crevice between rocks, just big enough for her to squeeze through, disappearing from view. The male, unwilling to give up, tried to follow her into the crevice, but it was too small for him, so he remained stuck outside, bleeding loudly. After a few moments, realizing that he wouldn't be able to get any closer to her, he finally gave up and walked away. Hey there, hope you had a good weekend. If you're an ibex, a horned wild goat that lives in mountainous regions in Europe and Asia, your weekend might have started off pretty normally. You and your herd mates would have spent Saturday grazing on some high-altitude plants and generally lazing about. But come Sunday, things could have gotten pretty hectic depending on whether or not a male was looking to get busy. In fact, our story begins like this, with a small group of ibex in a mountainous region when a lone male decided to initiate mating. Like most male mammals, he likely approached the females in his group, displaying a number of behaviors to show his interest. These behaviors might have included things like posturing, vocalizing, the male essentially saying, "Hey there, lady, I'd like to mate with you," and the female giving him a little push with her head to let him know that she was uninterested. Males will often persist, despite an initial rejection, as was the case with our would-be suitor here, because it's important for them to pass on their genes, even if it means having to deal with a little bit of a female's wrath. In this case, the female decided that the best way to get away from the male was to jump off a fairly tall cliff. Now, I know what you're thinking. Surely she didn't survive that fall. But ibex are known for their incredible athleticism. They can leap incredible distances and navigate tricky terrain with ease, thanks to their sharp hooves and sure-footedness. So while the male watched anxiously below, she landed on all four of her feet and was none the worse for wear. She then did something that I'm sure surprised the heck out of him. She rejoined the herd, casually acting like nothing had happened, as if to say, "Yeah, that's right, buddy. Just go ahead and tell everybody what a big tough guy you are." The male, still smarting from his earlier rejection, decided that this was his chance to redeem himself, and once again approached the female. But she wasn't having it. She ran from him, leaping and bounding across a narrow ledge high up on a cliff face. Again, the male persisted, but again she got away. Finally, she disappeared into a crevice between rocks that was just big enough for her to squeeze through. The male, unwilling to give up, tried to follow her into the crevice, but it was no use. He was too big to fit through such a small opening. So he bleated loudly for a few moments, at which point he realized that there was no way that he would be able to get any closer to her. And so he finally gave up and walked away. Now, if you've ever spent any amount of time around goats, you know that they can be pretty persistent when it comes to doing what they want to do. And ibex are no exception. But sometimes, just sometimes, they need to know when they're beaten. And that's all for this episode. Thanks for watching. See you next time.